Jerry married Charity when he was still struggling to find his footing in life. Back then, she was the only woman who believed in him without hesitation. She cooked for him with love, prayed for him when the bills piled up, and encouraged him when life felt unbearable. Charity came from a very humble background. She grew up wearing hand-me-down clothes, eating simple meals, and learning to appreciate the little things in life. She had no knowledge of fashion, luxury, or high society, but what she did possess was a pure heart, unwavering respect, and a deep, genuine love. As Jerry's fortune slowly improved, so too did his lifestyle, but unfortunately his heart changed alongside it. He landed a better job. His income increased. He could afford fine clothes, a sleek car, and a comfortable apartment. People began to notice him. He started moving in new circles, friends who talked about money, prestige, parties, and social status. And it was during this time that Jerry began to feel ashamed of Charity. Charity still dressed simply, unaware of color coordination or how to carry herself like women in the upper class. She laughed freely, spoke honestly, and never pretended to be someone she was. To Jerry, this was embarrassing. He avoided taking her to gatherings, lied about events being men-only or work-related, and quietly excluded her from public appearances. At home, he became cold, distant, and at times openly harsh. He would speak to her with sharpness or ignore her completely. Charity noticed everything but remained silent. She believed in patience and in the power of love to transform a person. When Jerry criticized her clothing, she smiled and said sorry. When he mocked her humble background, she said nothing. At night, when the house was quiet and Jerry slept, Charity would weep softly and pray for him. Her friend Laura saw the toll it was taking. Bold, outspoken, and fearless, Laura didn't mince words. One afternoon, she confronted Charity. "Your husband is ashamed of you," Laura said bluntly. "A man who truly loves you will show you off to the world. This marriage is hurting you. Leave before it destroys you." Charity shook her head slowly. "No, Laura, I love my husband. He wasn't like this before. He will change. I believe in him." Laura sighed, knowing Charity's heart was far too soft for the reality of the situation. Meanwhile, Jerry had already crossed a line. He met Lily at a lounge where his friends often gathered. Lily was everything Charity was not: flashy, confident, loud, and fashionable. She knew exactly how to flatter a man, calling Jerry successful, praising his car, and laughing at every joke. Jerry felt important, admired, and desired. Soon, Lily became his girlfriend. Jerry started coming home late, ignoring Charity's calls, and sometimes didn't come home at all. One evening, he shocked Charity by bringing Lily home openly. Lily walked around the house with a mocking smile. Jerry's voice was cold and commanding. "This is Lily. She will be staying here." Charity froze, hands trembling. "If you can't stay," Jerry added without hesitation, "you can leave." Charity's heart shattered, but she did not shout. She did not argue. She nodded quietly and walked to the bedroom. That night she cried until sleep claimed her. Jerry felt triumphant, believing that money had given him complete control. He thought Charity's silence was weakness. He no longer hid his disdain for her simple life. Everything about her irritated him: her speech, her modest clothing, even the way she served meals. If she wore her old slippers, he complained. If she tried to dress a little nicer, he mocked her, saying she was pretending to be someone she was. Charity was left confused, wondering how she could ever satisfy him. Meanwhile, Lily fueled Jerry's ego every day, praising him constantly and laughing when he criticized Charity. Sometimes she insulted Charity openly, calling her local and village-minded, and Jerry did nothing to defend his wife. On the contrary, he felt a twisted sense of pride that another woman admired him over the one who had loved him unconditionally. Jerry's lies extended beyond the home. Among friends and colleagues, he painted Charity as dull, unrefined, and married only out of pity. Each lie hardened his heart. Erasing memories of the nights Charity stayed awake praying for him or supporting him when he had nothing. Money had blinded him. Charity watched silently, noticing the changes. She saw how Jerry smiled brighter in Lily's presence, dressed up just to impress her, and avoided stepping out with her. Occasionally, he would take Lily to fancy restaurants or parties, only to return home and criticize Charity's simple cooking. And she would nod, apologize, even when she had done nothing wrong. One evening, Laura came to visit and saw Lily lounging in Charity's home, scrolling her phone as though she owned the place. Laura's anger boiled over. "Jerry," she said boldly, "this is your wife's house. What you are doing is wrong." Jerry laughed. "Wrong? I pay the bills here. I decide who stays." Laura turned to Charity, frustration in her eyes. "Do you see? This man does not respect you. Leave before he destroys you." Charity's eyes were red from crying, but her voice was calm. "I am married to him. I will not leave my home because of another woman." Lily smirked. "Suit yourself," she said. Jerry believed he had won. He thought Charity was weak and would never leave. But he did not understand that patience is not weakness, that silence can mask strength. A few days later, Jerry received an invitation that would change everything. It was not just any party. It was a business dinner and celebration hosted by a powerful company. That night, he was expected to sign a major deal that could elevate his career to a new level. The invitation was clear. "You are expected to attend with your wife." Jerry read the line over and over. Panic and frustration bubbled inside him. This was exactly the problem he had tried to avoid. The organizers valued family image. Respect for a man meant respect for his wife. He could not refuse the invitation, but he also did not want Charity beside him in front of the elite. Charity noticed his tension immediately. She had lived with him long enough to recognize when something significant had happened. Smiling gently, she approached him. "You look happy today," she said softly. "Please, can you share the good news with me?" Jerry quickly folded the letter, his face darkening instantly. "Why are you watching me?" he snapped. "Are you spying on me in my own house?" "No, I was not spying," Charity replied, stunned. "I just saw you smiling and said nothing," Jerry shouted. "There is nothing in that letter." "Mind your own business." Charity stepped back, confused and hurt. She had only asked out of love. "You, this local woman," Jerry said bitterly. "Everything is not meant for you. Just focus on cooking and cleaning." Charity felt as though she had been struck. Her chest tightened, but she did not retaliate. She nodded slowly and walked away. Inside her bedroom, she sat on the bed and cried quietly, wondering how asking her husband a simple question had become a crime. That night, Jerry called Lily, excitement in his voice. He described the invitation, a business party where a major deal would be signed, where the organizers valued family men. "Once I sign this deal," he said, laughing, "my life will change completely." Lily laughed too. "Then you must go with someone who matches your new level," she said. Jerry agreed eagerly. The day arrived. Jerry woke early, heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. This was the biggest opportunity of his life, a deal that could change his status forever. He dressed meticulously, choosing his finest suit, and smiled proudly at his reflection in the mirror. Charity, already awake, greeted him softly, but he didn't respond. He picked his car keys and walked out without a word. Charity watched him leave, her heart heavy. She felt like a stranger in her own home. Jerry went straight to pick up Lily. Lily was fully dressed like a rich man's wife. Her hair was perfectly styled, her dress expensive, and her confidence loud. Jerry felt proud walking beside her. In his mind, this was how a successful man should appear. When they arrived at the venue, everything looked grand. Expensive cars filled the parking lot. Important-looking men stood in groups discussing business. Jerry straightened his shoulders and walked in confidently with Lily by his side. The businessman welcomed him warmly. Mr. Jerry, one of them said with a smile, we are happy you could make it. Another man looked around and asked politely, where is your wife? Jerry didn't think twice. He pulled Lily closer and said confidently, she is my beloved wife. Lily smiled sweetly and greeted them. The room became quiet for a moment. No one argued. No one corrected him. The men simply nodded calmly, though a few exchanged strange looks. Everyone took their seats. Documents were arranged neatly on the table. Jerry's heart was already celebrating. He felt like the deal was already his. Then one of the senior businessmen cleared his throat. Mr. Jerry, he said calmly, before we proceed with the signing, there is something you should know. Our boss is not here today. Jerry paused but forced a smile. That's all right, the man continued. He had an urgent matter, however, his daughter will be representing him. Jerry nodded again, still confident. A daughter did not scare him. He believed business was business. Just then, the door opened slowly. Footsteps echoed softly across the room. Everyone stood up respectfully. Jerry turned his head toward the door. And in that moment, his confidence froze because the woman walking into the room was someone he never expected to see there. The woman was Charity. Jerry felt the blood drain from his face. His heart stopped for a moment. His eyes widened in shock and his hands began to shake. He looked again, hoping it was his imagination, but it was real. Standing there in front of everyone was the same woman he insulted, ignored, and hid at home. Charity was dressed simply but neatly. She walked with quiet dignity, not looking at Jerry at first. The room was silent as she took her seat at the head of the table. One of the businessmen smiled respectfully and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Miss Charity Benson, daughter of our boss and today's representative." Jerry's ears rang. Daughter. Boss, his mind could not understand it. He slowly turned to look at Lily. Lily's confident smile had disappeared. Her face was pale. She looked confused and scared. Charity finally lifted her eyes and looked at Jerry. Their eyes met. Jerry felt shame crash over him like a heavy wave. This was the woman he called local, the woman he was ashamed to introduce as his wife. And now she was sitting above him, representing the most powerful person in the room. One of the men spoke again. "Mr. Jerry, earlier you were asked to present your wife." Jerry swallowed hard. He could not speak. The man continued, "You introduced this lady beside you as your wife. Is that correct?" Jerry opened his mouth, but no words came out. All eyes were on Jerry. Lily stood up slowly, embarrassed. She realized in that moment that she was nothing but a lie Jerry created to feel important. No one looked at her anymore. Jerry finally whispered, "Charity, I can explain." Charity looked at him calmly. "You will have the chance," she said, "but first we will finish the business discussion." Jerry's pride was completely broken. The room he walked into with confidence had turned into a place of judgment. The woman he hid had become the woman everyone respected. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Jerry was still trying to understand what was happening. His mind was confused, his pride completely gone. He kept staring at Charity, hoping she would smile or explain that everything was a mistake. But Charity's face remained calm and serious. One of the businessmen spoke respectfully. "Madam, we are ready whenever you are." Jerry's legs weakened. That was when it hit him fully. Charity was not just the boss's daughter, she was the decision maker. Charity slowly lifted her head and looked straight at Jerry. Her voice was calm but firm. "There will be no signing today." Jerry jumped up. "Charity, please, this deal means everything to me." Charity stood as well. "This deal is based on trust," she said, "and trust begins with honesty. You stood here and denied your wife. You introduced another woman as your wife without shame." Jerry lowered his head. He could not defend himself. Charity continued, "If you can lie so easily about your own marriage, then this company cannot trust you with business." She turned to the men. "Please cancel this deal." No one argued. No one questioned her decision. They simply nodded. Then Charity faced Jerry again. "My lawyer will contact you today. He will bring you the divorce papers. You will sign them." Jerry's breath caught in his throat. "Divorce?" he whispered. "Yes," Charity replied calmly. "I loved you. I endured shame. I stayed when everyone told me to leave. But today you showed me clearly who you are." Lily stood up slowly, her face full of embarrassment. She realized she had been nothing but a tool. Without saying a word, she walked out of the room. Charity picked up her bag and added one last sentence. "This meeting is over." As she walked out, every man in the room stood up again. Not for Jerry, but for the woman he was once ashamed of. Jerry was left standing alone, surrounded by silence, regret, and a truth he could never erase. Jerry got home late that night. His body felt heavy and his mind was tired. The house that once felt like a place of comfort now felt empty and cold. Charity was not there. Her things were already gone. That reality hurt him deeply. But before he could even sit down, Lily stormed into the living room. She was furious. "So you never knew about your stupid wife's background?" Lily shouted. "You are a fool, Jerry. A complete fool." Jerry raised his head slowly, his eyes red. "Watch how you talk to me." Lily laughed bitterly. "Talk to you. Look at you now. I even heard her father owns the company you work for. Do you know what that means? You are finished." Jerry felt his heart sink. "You better find a way to get that contract signed," Lily continued angrily. "If not, you will not believe what I will do to you. I didn't suffer all this embarrassment for nothing." Jerry frowned, anger flashing in his eyes. "You caused all this. If you didn't push me to lie, none of this would have happened." Lily scoffed. "Don't blame me. You were the one ashamed of your wife." Jerry clenched his fists. "Just shut up and let me think, you Jezebel." The word hit Lily like fire. She stepped back, shocked. For the first time, she saw fear in Jerry's eyes. Not fear of her, but fear of losing everything. Jerry walked away, pacing the room like a trapped animal. His mind was racing. The deal was gone. His reputation was damaged. His marriage was over. And the woman he once thought was nothing now controlled his future. 2 days later, Jerry received a message from Charity's lawyer. The message was short and clear. The divorce papers were ready. He was asked to sign peacefully to avoid further problems. When Jerry read it, his hands trembled. Fear filled his heart. Losing the deal was painful, but losing Charity completely was something he could not accept. Jerry decided to go to Charity's office. He believed if he could see her face to face, she would listen. When he arrived, the building looked powerful and organized. It shocked him. This was the world Charity belonged to, a world he never cared to know. Jerry walked inside, but security stopped him. "I am here to see my wife," he said nervously. The security men looked at his name on their system. One of them shook his head. "You are not allowed to enter." Jerry was confused. "What do you mean?" "She is my wife." Before he could say more, Charity came out of her office. She had heard his voice. She stopped a few steps away from him. Jerry dropped to his knees right there in the office hallway. "I beg you," he cried, "I love you. I didn't know who you were, I didn't know what I had." Charity looked at him for a long moment. Her voice was steady when she spoke. "You knew me well enough to insult me. You knew me well enough to hide me. You knew me well enough to replace me." She turned to the security men. "If he comes here again, arrest him." Jerry froze. "Charity," she didn't answer. She turned and walked back into her office. Jerry stood up slowly and walked out of the building like a broken man. When he got home, Lily was waiting for him, furious. "Why did you go and beg her?" Lily shouted. "Is this not what you always wanted? You were ashamed of her," Jerry snapped. "You don't understand. You caused all this. You deceived me. You pushed me into this mess. You are a devil." Lily laughed bitterly. "Devil? I was on my own when you came to ask me out. I didn't force you," Jerry shouted back. "Then why didn't you refuse? Why didn't you walk away?" Lily stepped closer, insulting him. "Because you were weak. Because you wanted to feel important." Don't blame me for your shame. Jerry sank onto the couch, holding his head. At that moment, he understood the truth clearly. Lily never loved him. Charity did, but he destroyed it with his own hands. And now there was no way back. Jerry did not even have time to heal from the shame before another blow came. The next morning, he received a message from his office asking him to report immediately. His heart beat fast. Deep inside, he already knew something was wrong. When Jerry arrived, he was taken straight to the top floor. Charity's father was there, sitting calmly behind a large desk. The old man looked strong, wise, and deeply disappointed. Jerry's knees felt weak the moment he saw him. "Sit down, Jerry," Charity's father said coldly. Jerry sat, his hands shaking. "I have watched everything carefully," the old man continued. "The way you treated my daughter, the way you hid her, the way you replaced her and denied her in public." Jerry quickly knelt down. "Sir, I am sorry. I didn't know who she was. Please forgive me." Charity's father shook his head slowly. "That is exactly the problem. You are apologizing because you found out who she is, not because you truly love her." Jerry tried to speak, but the man raised his hand. "You don't love my daughter," he said firmly. "And you will never love her. A man who truly loves does not need wealth to respect his wife." Jerry felt tears in his eyes. "It was my girlfriend. She is a devil sent to destroy my beautiful home. She pushed me into all this." Charity's father looked at him with disappointment. "Stop it. A weak man always looks for someone to blame. No woman forced you to disrespect your wife." The old man picked up a file and slid it across the desk. "You are dismissed from this company, effective immediately." Jerry's heart shattered. "Sir, please. This job is my life." The old man frowned. "I don't need someone like you around here. Someone who cannot respect his own wife cannot be trusted in my company." Jerry cried openly now. "Please, sir, I am begging." Charity's father sighed deeply. "I'm sorry, there is nothing we can do to help you." Jerry stood up slowly, his shoulders bent, his pride completely gone. As he walked out of the building, people who once respected him avoided his eyes. Outside, Jerry stopped and looked up at the tall building one last time. In a single moment, he lost his wife, his job, his future, and his dignity. A week later, when Jerry thought things could not get worse, his phone rang. He answered it casually, not knowing it was another blow waiting for him. The voice on the other end was cold and official. Jerry was informed that the house he was staying in had been sold to a new landlord. The new owner needed the building for renovation and personal use. Jerry was given 2 weeks to evacuate. Jerry's whole body went weak. The house he once called home was no longer his. The walls around him suddenly felt empty and strange. He sat on the floor and cried like a child. Everything he worked for was slipping away one by one. His marriage, his job, his respect, and now his home. Lily watched him from a distance, arms crossed, her face full of disgust instead of pity. When Jerry finally looked up at her with red, swollen eyes, she shook her head. "I can't be with you anymore," Lily said coldly. "No job, no money, no house. I didn't sign up for suffering." Jerry stared at her in shock. "Lily, please, this is when I need you most," she laughed bitterly. "Need me? Jerry, be serious. I love comfort, I love money. That was what attracted me to you in the first place." Jerry felt like he was being stabbed. "I will never suffer with any man," Lily continued. "I warned you. A man without money is nothing." Jerry tried to speak, but his voice failed him. Lily picked up her bag and moved toward the door. "I'm done," she said. "Take care of yourself." The door closed behind her. The sound echoed in the empty house. Jerry sat there alone, surrounded by silence and regret. The woman he sacrificed his wife for had walked away without looking back. In that moment, Jerry understood the difference between love and interest. He lay down on the floor that night, staring at the ceiling, asking himself one painful question again and again. Why did I destroy the only person who truly loved me? And the answer brought no comfort, Jerry spent the next few days packing his things slowly. Each item he put into the box reminded him of Charity. Her simple dresses, her prayer books, the small kitchen tools she loved using. The house felt empty and cold. When the 2 weeks were over, Jerry locked the door for the last time and stood outside with his bags, not knowing where to go. The man who once walked with pride now stood confused on the street. Jerry went to an old friend for help. The friend listened quietly, then looked at Jerry and said, "You can stay in my house, but you must work for me." Jerry felt relieved until the friend added, "You will be my gateman. You will open the gate for me every day." Jerry felt shame burn inside him, but he had no choice. He nodded slowly. "I will do it." That same night, Jerry started working. He slept in a small corner near the gate. Every time he opened and closed it, his heart broke a little more. At night, when everyone was asleep, Jerry cried himself to sleep. He remembered how Charity once opened the door for him with a smile. Now he was the one opening gates for others. Jerry tried to call Charity many times. He dialed her number with shaking hands, hoping she would answer. But the call never went through. She had blocked his number. Each failed call felt like another door closing in his life. The next day, Jerry went to Laura's boutique. The place was beautiful and lively. When Laura saw Jerry standing at the entrance, she crossed her arms. "So this is Jerry," she said loudly. "The man who was ashamed of his wife." Jerry bent his head. "Please, Laura, help me. Help me beg Charity. I know I was wrong." Laura laughed bitterly. "Now you know. When you brought another woman into her house. Did you know then, when you called her local? Did you know then?" Jerry knelt down. "I'm begging." Laura shook her head. "Stand up. Begging doesn't suit you. You wanted a flashy woman. You got her. Now face your choice." Jerry felt humiliated, but he stayed silent. "You only want Charity back because you lost everything," Laura continued. "If she was still poor, you wouldn't be here. Don't insult her again by pretending you love her." Jerry cried openly. "Please." Laura's voice softened slightly, but her words were still sharp. "Leave here and rebuild your life. Charity deserves peace, not tears born from regret." Jerry stood up slowly and walked away. Every step felt heavy. That day, Jerry understood a hard lesson. The same pride that lifts a man can destroy him when love is ignored. Jerry settled into the routine without complaint. Every morning, Mark gave him instructions and Jerry followed them without argument. If Mark said, "Open the gate," Jerry opened it. If Mark said, "Clean the compound," Jerry cleaned it. There was no room for pride anymore. Jerry spoke less and listened more. Mark started pushing him harder each day. Sometimes he called Jerry in front of visitors just to shout at him. "Jerry, you are slow. Are you sleeping?" Jerry would apologize even when he did nothing wrong. Mark enjoyed the power. He enjoyed reminding Jerry that he had fallen. At work, Jerry was never allowed to rest. If Mark was in a bad mood, Jerry suffered the most. If Mark's business went wrong, Jerry became the target. "If you don't like it here, leave," Mark would say, knowing very well Jerry had nowhere to go. Jerry tried to keep peace. He avoided trouble. He avoided eye contact. He avoided talking too much. Every night he lay down silently and cried until sleep came. As days passed, things became worse. Mark's wife, Angela, started behaving strangely. At first it was small things. She would call Jerry late at night to help her carry things that could wait till morning. She would stand too close when talking to him. She smiled in ways that made Jerry uncomfortable. Jerry tried to avoid her. He stayed outside as much as possible, but Angela noticed his fear. One evening when Mark was not at home, Angela called Jerry inside the house. Her voice sounded calm, but her eyes were cold. She looked at him slowly. "You know my husband is helping you," she said. "Yes, madam," Jerry replied quietly. "I'm grateful." She stepped closer. "If you want to continue staying in this house, you must also help me." Jerry felt his heart race. "I don't understand, madam." Angela smiled. "You understand very well." Jerry stepped back immediately. Please don't put me in trouble." Her smile disappeared. "Trouble? You already have trouble. No job, no money, no house. Who will believe you if I say you tried to touch me?" Jerry froze. Fear held him tight. He realized how low he had fallen. Once women respected him. Now he was being trapped because he was powerless. Lily met Charity by accident one evening, as Charity was coming out of a restaurant with a man who was clearly confident, calm, and well-respected. They were talking peacefully. Lily froze when she saw Charity. For a moment, shame crossed her face, but it didn't last. She quickly adjusted herself and walked toward them boldly, like someone who had nothing to lose. "Charity," she called out with a forced smile. Charity stopped, looked at her once, and her face went cold. "I don't have any business with you," Charity said calmly. "You and Jerry should just let me be." Lily's eyes filled with fake tears immediately. "Please forgive me," she said loudly. "I know I did wrong. I was confused." "I didn't mean to destroy your home." Charity shook her head slowly. "You were not confused. You knew exactly what you were doing. I survived it. That is all that matters." Lily stepped closer. "Please, Charity. You are a good person. You are kind. Forgive me." Charity looked straight at her. "Forgiveness does not mean friendship. It does not mean access. It means I move on and you stay where you are." Lily looked at the man standing beside Charity and swallowed hard. Her voice dropped. "Please, I know you know wealthy men, powerful men. Can you introduce me to one of them?" The man beside Charity looked shocked. Charity laughed, but there was no joy in it. "You must be foolish," Charity said plainly. "Is this how you live your life? Jumping from one man to another, chasing money like it is oxygen." Lily tried to defend herself. "Life is hard. I don't want to suffer." Charity's face became serious. "Suffering did not destroy Jerry. Pride did, greed did, and it will destroy you too if you don't change." Lily scoffed. "Easy for you to say now that you are comfortable." Charity stepped forward slightly. "Comfort did not come from men. It came from discipline, values, and self-respect. Things you mocked." Lily's voice cracked. "Please just help me." Charity shook her head firmly. "No, I won't help you repeat the same mistake. Go and build yourself. Stop using people." Lily stood there embarrassed as people began to stare. Charity turned to the man beside her and said calmly, "Let's go." As they walked away, Charity added without turning back, "This is the last time you speak to me." Lily stood frozen on the spot, realizing that the woman she once thought was weak had become someone she could never reach again. Jerry could not hold the pain anymore, so he called his mother, who lived in the village. When she picked the call and heard his weak voice, she immediately asked what was wrong. Jerry broke down and told her everything that had happened. He told her how he lost his wife, his job, his house, and how his life had turned upside down. His mother became very angry. She shouted, "Why did you not tell me all this while? Is this the reason you have been avoiding my calls? You don't even send money to me anymore. I was worried. I was scared. I thought something bad had happened to you." She continued angrily. "So it is that witchwoman Charity that told you not to send me money. Now see, she has finally succeeded. How could she not tell you that her family is wealthy? She is a greedy woman. I warned you about her from the beginning. She has finished you, my son. Look at your life now." Jerry cried harder and said, "Mama, please, I caused everything. I treated her badly. I did her wrong. I am the one at fault." But his mother refused to listen. She replied, "You did nothing wrong, my son. That woman is evil. What did you do that she could not forgive and forget? Is it not marriage? People quarrel and settle. I must come to that city. I will go to her office and put her in her place." Jerry quickly said, "No, Mama, no need. Please don't do that. Charity is a nice person. She does not deserve trouble." But his mother did not listen. She shouted, "I am your mother and I will not watch my son suffer because of one ungrateful woman. I am coming to that city." Jerry begged again, "Mama, please let it go. I am already suffering enough." But she kept talking angrily, blaming Charity for everything. while Jerry sat there holding his phone with shaking hands, realizing painfully that even now his mother could not see the truth. And he wondered if this blindness had followed him all his life. Jerry's mother arrived in the city 2 days later, angry and determined, carrying bitterness in her heart instead of wisdom. And the first place she went to was Charity's office because she believed confrontation would fix what pride had destroyed. She walked straight in and shouted, "Charity, come out here." When Charity stepped out and saw her, she sighed quietly and said, "Mama, what are you doing here?" Jerry's mother folded her arms and replied sharply, "So, you still have the mouth to ask me that after destroying my son's life?" Charity remained calm. "Mama, please lower your voice. This is my office." Jerry's mother scoffed. "Office? Is it not your father's money you are using to oppress people? Is any of this even yours? I warned my son not to marry you, but he refused to listen. Now see what you have done to him." Charity's face became firm and she replied, "Mama, I respect you as an elder, but do not insult me here. If not for that respect, I would not tolerate this behavior." Jerry's mother laughed loudly. "I am not afraid of you. Do your worst. You think money scares me." Charity answered calmly, "I am warning you for the last time. Do not come to this office again. If you ever step into this place again, you will be arrested." Jerry's mother shouted back, "Arrest me then, bad woman. What did my son do that you could not forgive? Is he the first man to cheat on his wife? Marriage is about endurance. You are proud and wicked." Charity shook her head and replied, "Cheating was not the only problem, Mama. Disrespect was, humiliation was. Bringing another woman into my home was. Forgiveness does not mean allowing someone to destroy your dignity." Jerry's mother snapped. "You have ruined my son because of your pride." Charity replied firmly, "I did not ruin your son. He ruined his home by his choices, and instead of correcting him, you are defending him." Jerry's mother continued shouting insults, calling Charity ungrateful and heartless. And Charity finally turned to security and said, "Please escort her out." As Jerry's mother was being led away, she kept shouting curses and threats, while Charity stood there quietly, breathing deeply, knowing that this confrontation was never really about her, but about a mother who could not accept that her son was responsible for his own downfall. Jerry stayed in Mark's house longer than he planned, and with each passing day, the tension grew. But instead of running away, Jerry started changing inside. He stopped feeling fear and started feeling bold. One night, Angela called him quietly and said, "Jerry, come inside." And this time he did not refuse. She smiled at him and said, "You act like you don't know what I want." And Jerry laughed softly and replied, "I didn't know you are this sweet and good. I have been missing this." Angela smiled and said, "For 2 weeks now, my husband has not touched me." And Jerry moved closer without fear, without guilt, enjoying every moment. Nobody caught them that first time, and Jerry felt excited instead of ashamed. He even told himself that life was finally giving him something back after all the suffering. Days later, Angela came again, and Jerry did not hesitate at all. He followed her confidently, joking and laughing, thinking he was smarter than everyone. But this time, Mark returned earlier than expected. He opened the door and caught Jerry with his wife. Mark shouted in anger. Jerry tried to explain, but nobody listened. Mark beat him badly, shouting that he was a traitor and an animal. Jerry did not fight back. He just covered his face. The police were called. Jerry was arrested and taken away in shame. The same people that once respected him now looked at him with pity and disgust. When he was finally released days later, he had nothing left. No job, no shelter, no friend, no dignity. He quietly left the city without telling anyone and went straight to the village to meet his mother. When she saw him, she cried loudly and held him, asking what had happened to him. And Jerry broke down completely, telling her that everything she blamed Charity for was his own doing, that he destroyed his home with pride and bad choices. And for the first time, his mother went silent, looking at her son and seeing not a victim, but a broken man who had finally learned too late. Jerry had barely settled in the village when Lily showed up one afternoon, dusty and angry, looking nothing like the flashy woman he once knew. And the moment Jerry saw her, he frowned and asked, "What are you doing here?" And Lily replied without greeting him, "I came to find you because I'm pregnant." Jerry laughed dryly. "Pregnant for who?" And Lily shouted, "Don't act stupid, you know it's yours." Jerry shook his head and replied, "How do you expect me to believe you, Lily? You sleep with different men." Lily's eyes widened and she yelled, "Are you mad? How can you say such a thing about me?" Jerry crossed his arms and said calmly, "Of course I know you. That's why I'm saying it." Lily tried to cry and said, "You are wicked after everything we shared." Jerry replied coldly, "If you're sure the child is mine, then once the child is born, we will do DNA. Until then, don't disturb me." Lily became furious and insulted him, calling him heartless and useless. The next day, Jerry told her he was going to the farm and that she should follow him so they could talk properly. Lily looked at him like he was crazy and shouted, "Are you joking? You are a fool to tell me that. Don't you know I'm pregnant? You expect me to go to the farm?" Jerry shrugged and said, "This is my life now. If you can't cope, then you can leave." Lily stood there shocked, realizing that the man she once controlled was no longer impressed by her words. And for the first time, she understood that Jerry had changed. Not into a better man, but into someone harder, colder, and more dangerous than before. A few hours later, the house was quiet again, and Jerry's mother sat outside thinking deeply about everything she had seen since Lily arrived. The attitude, the pride, the way she spoke to people, and it worried her. So when it was time to cook, she called Lily and said in a calm voice, "My daughter, go to the stream and fetch water so I can prepare food." Lily turned sharply and replied, "Are you talking to me?" Jerry's mother answered, "Yes, you are here and we all help ourselves in this house." Lily laughed loudly and said, "You must be joking. Me go to the stream carrying water on my head. Don't you know I am pregnant?" Jerry's mother frowned and said, "Pregnant or not, this is village life. Nobody sits idle." Lily became angry and started raining insults, saying, "You old woman, this is why your son is suffering. This poor dirty life is not for me. I didn't come here to punish myself." Jerry's mother stood up angrily and replied, "Watch your mouth, young woman, this is my house." Lily shouted back, "Your house is nothing special. I left comfort to come and meet this useless man." Jerry tried to talk and said, "Lily, please calm down." But Lily snapped at him, "Shut up. You are the most foolish man I have ever met." That was when Jerry's mother lost her patience and said angrily, "This one is not good for my son. From the first day I saw you, I knew it. Charity was the best wife you ever had." Lily screamed immediately, "Don't you ever compare me to that dirty woman, that fake humble woman. She thinks because she has money now she is better than everyone." Jerry's mother replied firmly, "Charity was respectful, patient, and kind, even when we had nothing." Lily laughed mockingly and said, "Keep your village saint. I am not like her and I will never be like her." Jerry's mother shook her head in anger and said, "You see, this is the problem. Pride without character." Lily pointed at her and shouted, "I will not fetch water. I will not cook, and I will not suffer in this place." Villagers nearby stopped to listen as the shouting grew louder. Jerry stood there confused and silent, realizing too late that the woman standing before him was nothing like the one he lost. And for the first time, even his mother, who once defended him blindly, looked at Lily with deep regret and fear, knowing that trouble had entered their home. Meanwhile, Charity's life had moved forward quietly and peacefully, far away from drama and noise. She focused on her work, her health, and her peace of mind. For the first time in a long while, she slept without fear, without tears, and without praying for a man who did not value her. People around her noticed the change. She smiled more. She spoke freely. She no longer looked like someone carrying a heavy burden. Not long after the divorce, Charity met a man named Daniel. He was calm, mature, and respectful. He didn't rush her. He watched how she treated people and admired her character. When he spoke to her, he listened. When he disagreed, he did so gently. Charity found herself relaxing around him in a way she never did with Jerry. Daniel knew her story, but he never used it against her. He once told her, "I don't love you because of what you own. I love you because of who you are." That sentence stayed in Charity's heart. Slowly, carefully, she allowed herself to love again. Not desperately, not blindly, but wisely. They went out together sometimes, not to show off, but to enjoy simple moments. Charity laughed again. Not the forced laughter she used to give Jerry, but real laughter that came from peace. Daniel never hid her. He introduced her proudly. He respected her boundaries. He never shouted. He never compared her to anyone. Charity also rebuilt her relationship with herself. She forgave Jerry silently, not because he asked, but because she didn't want bitterness to follow her into her new life. She never contacted him. She never checked on him. That chapter was closed. While Jerry's life was full of noise, confusion, and regret, Charity's life was becoming steady and meaningful. She learned that love was not about endurance of pain, but mutual respect. She learned that patience should never cost dignity. And most importantly, she learned that walking away from disrespect was not failure, but strength. Months later, life finally exposed the truth Jerry tried to avoid. Lily gave birth in the village, and from the day the baby arrived, Jerry's heart was not at rest. The child did not look like him at all. Jerry insisted on a DNA test, and when the result came out, it confirmed what his heart already knew. He was not the father of the child. Jerry felt fire in his chest. He confronted Lily immediately and shouted, "So all this time you were lying to me. I destroyed my life for you, and the child is not mine." Lily tried to shout back, but the truth had already stripped her of confidence. Jerry chased her out of the house without mercy, telling her to leave his life forever. As she walked away with the child, Jerry sat down and cried bitterly, not because Lily left, but because he finally understood the cost of his pride. He regretted everything. He regretted how he treated Charity, how he listened to lust instead of wisdom, how he mocked humility, and how he lost the only woman who truly loved him. But regret came too late. Meanwhile, far away from the village and all the pain, Charity's life had fully blossomed. Daniel, the governor's son, formerly married her in a quiet but beautiful ceremony filled with respect, honor, and joy. Charity stood beside a man who was proud of her, who valued her heart, and who never tried to shrink her light. As she smiled on her wedding day, she felt no hatred, no bitterness, only peace. Jerry was left with memories and lessons. Charity moved forward with love and dignity.